trying to rally the troops around his economic policy, speaking live moments ago from the Rose Garden, reassuring Americans that we are headed for greener pastures.
No doubt we still face serious challenges. But if we rise above the politics of the moment to summon an equal seriousness of purpose, I'm absolutely confident that we will meet them. I've got confidence in the American economy, and most importantly, I've got confidence in the American people. We've just got to start working together to get this done.
The question now, can the president turn things around before the midterm elections? And if so, what's he waiting for? Richard Socarides is former special assistant to President Clinton, and he's my guest now. Richard, I mean, can he? He doesn't have the magic bullet, does he?
Well, he can. It's possible. He's in a very tough spot right now. It is really make it or break it time on these midterms. I would say he's got about 10 days to 2 weeks to try to come up with something dramatic, to change the outcome, to change the likely scenarios here.
But what could it be? I mean, he talked about the $30 billion, he calls it a jobs bill. The Republicans say it's going to tax small businesses. He says it's going to help them. Forget that. Let's say he gets that.
Right.
You know,
the stuff he was talking about today is not.
It's small potatoes.
Not going to do it.
Right? So, and some on the left are pushing for another stimulus. You know, they're saying we need, forget 30 billion, we need 800 billion plus more injected into the economy. The president himself seemed to acknowledge to NBC's Brian Williams, I don't have that. I don't have the votes for that. There's no appetite for it in the U.S. Congress right now. So what could he do?
Well, he has to do something. He may not be able to get it through, but a lot of people are starting to talk about a bigger new stimulus, because even if he can't get it through Congress, at least he can, you know, stand for something.
I tried.
And say, I tried, and make the case theoretically about what needs to be done. You know, very often in times like this, also a change in personnel is also often a good idea.
You sound like John Boehner.
Well, I know. I thought about that, too. I thought about that on my way over. You know, everybody thought when John Boehner said it last week that he was a little bit,
that it was political, that it was a political move.
Right, that it was a little far afield. But if I were in the White House now, what I'd be thinking about is trying to announce something like a big new stimulus that even though you couldn't get it through, at least you could stand for something, or a personnel change. I don't think you can change the Secretary of the Treasury right now because you got to get somebody confirmed or something. But someone like Larry Summers, who's the head economic advisor in the White House, he needs something dramatic now, though.
Why not? Why not? What's the downside of doing that? Because as much as the president has tried, and you can argue about, you know, whether it's working, but he has tried. I mean, he did get the stimulus bill passed. He did provide some housing help. He's done some bailouts.
Right. And of course, they say had they not done all of that,
we'd
it
be
would
in
be
much
a lot worse.
Right. So you can argue about whether it's worked, but, you know, he has made some efforts. But it doesn't seem like any of it has really had a huge impact. At least it hasn't solved the problem yet. And so here we hover at 9.5 unemployment rate. What is the president to do?
They had hoped we'd be at 7 or 7.5 right now.
So so he can come out and say Summers is gone, or somebody like Summers is gone. I'm pushing for another 800 billion stimulus.
Well, I think you have to show that you're in charge and that you have an idea. I think right now, right at this exact moment, you know, he's just back from vacation. He gave this talk that we saw at the top of the show. There's sort of nothing happening. I mean, he's sort of saying we're going to stay the course, but staying the course is not going to work for him. I mean, if they just stay the course, if they just stick with this, it's going nowhere. I mean, the economy is not recovering, and they're going to do very badly in the midterms.
Now, Richard, I get upset when members of our staff here come back from vacation and say, you know, I'm just back from vacation. You know, it's going to take me a couple days.
Break,
like,
right?
Well, you know what? We have a show to put on. Whether you just came back from, he's got a country to run, whether he just came back from Martha's Vineyard or not.
Listen, a lot of what they've done, I think, has been very helpful, and I do believe that what they've done so far has prevented a much worse economic disaster.
The stimulus too?
I do. I really.
Even with all the waste,
yes.
you hear that these awful reports about.
You know, I think the main, and we've talked about this before on the show, I think the biggest mistake they've made is not doing a proper job on selling health care reform. This past week, while I was away, I was talking to friends. Well, the truth is that nobody really understands what this health care reform bill is going to do for them yet, and its implementation is so far out in the future that even the people who are for him, even the people who were for health care reform, don't see it even in the future affecting them. They've done a horrible job explaining it to them.
I wanted to talk to you about that last week because there was a report that some Democratic strategists had done some polling, and that the message going out to Democratic candidates was, don't mention it. Just don't talk about, don't try to tell people that it's going to lower costs and improve care, because the polls show they don't believe that. So they're just going to look at you as like a, ugh. So find another message.
They need a whole new communications message on healthcare reform. They need to explain to people in a simple way what's happening.
Isn't healthcare part of the messaging problem because it plays into the narrative that President Obama has been focusing on the wrong things? He had to do healthcare, he had to focus on energy, which got stalled. You know, he's been focused on all these initiatives, but hasn't been devoted to finding a solution to the jobless numbers.
Well, I think they've lost control of the narrative. He has been working on the jobless numbers. He has been working on the economy. He's been working on a lot of stuff all at the same time. But what he's failed to do is go out and sell it. You know, like Bill Clinton was not only a great policy person, but he went out there and he sold these programs. And the president, he knew how to sell it. This president seems to he has sort of a disdain for the political. You know, he sort of says that politicking is beneath him. You know, that almost like going out and selling these programs is sort of beneath him. That's what he has to get over and reconnect with the American people between now and the midterms. But he doesn't really, of course, have till the actual midterms. He's got about 10 days or 2 weeks to really change the narrative.
Well, that would be quite amazing if something big comes out in the next 10 days.
And you know, we could always count on the fact that the Republicans are likely to overplay their hand, and that's going to help him. But that's a horrible thing to be the only thing you're
that can't be your
on.
game plan.
It can't be your game plan.
Yeah. Richard, it's always a pleasure, sir. Thank you. Richard Socarides, everybody. Stop calling me dude.